Good morning. Welcome to today's class. My name is Jon Witt, and this is my son Noah. So today's class is a basic Hatha class. So often I meet people and they're eager to start yoga, but they've have a very difficult time in terms of flexibility. So I'm going to give a basic class to help those to be more active. So you don't need a lot of equipment, but a wall or a chair can be really helpful for those for someone like that. So I'm going to start with my feet just basically just about the width of my hips, and then with my weight here, I'm just kind of finding the balance within the feet. So if my weight's too far forward or if it's too far back, I'm trying to find it in the middle. And what feels familiar is often not that it's critical, right? But it can eventually become knee pain or back pain. So I'm trying to find like more balance within the foot. So I'm going to take my hands behind me and I'm just going to hook the thumbs and think that you're expanding into the space that's around you. So when your hands are behind you and they're resting on your bum, you can kind of see like if you are a person that kind of sticks out your butt, then you'd want to bring the tailbone down. And if you're a person that has more of a posterior tilt, you could basically bring the tailbone down to stretch out the lower back, or you could accentuate more of a anterior tilt in the pelvis just so that your back is more neutral. So I'm going to come up onto the toes, I'm going to lift the heels, and then I'm going to slowly descend the heels down, and then I'm going to lift up onto the toes, and then I'm going to lower the heels. I'm lifting back up, and then lowering. Could be a count of like 3 to come down, and then I'm pressing back up, and then I'm going to lower back down, and then the last time I'm going to come up, and then when I come up, see if you can look over the right shoulder. So a little bit of your balance. Look center, and then look over the left shoulder, and then looking center, and then lowering the heels, and just roll out the feet. So roll them out, and then roll them back in. So if you have something going on with your knees or you have a history of knee pain, be careful with how much you're rolling your feet in and out, right? A minimal roll in or out can be really beneficial. It doesn't have, more isn't necessarily better. So just come back to neutral, but what you're going to do is just be on the outside of your left foot. Just the left foot is rolled out. Similar to what you would do if you were to roll an ankle, but you want to get more in positions like this, in my opinion, so that if it ever does happen, it's not going to be a problem for you. Then I'm going to bring the left foot down, and then I'm going to roll out into the right foot. So I'm adding weight into the foot. It's loaded, so you can push the foot into the floor. If these were really hard, what you could do is do them in shoes, and that's beneficial as well. And then over time, right, barefoot is not that it's better, but it is more stressful into the foot. So go back to having the feet neutral and have the hands behind you again. Change the hooking of the thumbs and come up onto the toes. So lift the heels and then slowly lower, lift up, and then lower, lifting back up, and then lower. So if you haven't had a lot of experience in ankle or heel raises, calf raises, is you could, if you come from a background of yoga, it's probably like held statically, which is not bad. But if you've never done volume in terms of lifting, that could be more beneficial for you, teaching you more motor skills. So I'm going to lower, I'm going to lift back up, and then I'm going to lower. So I'm lowering the heels. So now I'm basically rolling all of my toes with the exception of my big toe underneath me. And these can be very hard to do. So what you could do is, there's like furniture in your apartment or like a cabinet. You could put your toes up against that. You might need a towel, right, or something to make it softer. But I'm descending the heel. And as I'm descending the heel, right, that's just if I need more leverage. And then I'm going to untuck the toes on the left foot, and then I'm going to do it on the right. So you're basically curling the toes underneath you. So I'm doing it with my hands so that you can see it better. So I'm in full flexion of the toes. And you're never really doing this with the toes, unless you are doing that. And it's going to help with extending the toes. So the joints get really kind of stiff, and then it's hard to open and close the feet, which the feet and the hands have a lot of ability in doing that. So you can untuck the toes and then do it on the left big toe. So the left big toe is curled underneath. And these can be really, really hard initially, but over time they'll get easier and easier with practice. And I've often said this in terms of flexibility. The more dexterity you can bring into the foot, then it'll carry into the body. Someone as young as Noah really doesn't need this, right? He can do it. So I'm going to bring the right big toe underneath, and then as I bring the right big toe underneath, all my other toes are forward. And he could be balancing on his toes if he wanted to, right? Lifting his heels. And then I'm going to undo that. So my feet now are flat. I'm going to lift up all of my toes with the exception of my big toes. So I'm lifting and lowering. So if these were difficult, I recommend doing them 1 foot at a time. But just because of time and to give you more variety, I'm lifting all. But you could be more specific, and that can help you in isolating the toes. So lower all the toes, but just lift the big toes up off the floor. And then lower and lift. Kind of like with the calf raises, you might actually need more repetitions to learn the motor skill. And then static holds are good too, right? So I'm lifting and lowering. And then what I'm going to do is try to lift my second, third, and fourth toe up off the floor. And then I'll lower. And then one more time, I'm going to lift the second, third, and fourth toe up off the floor. And then I'll lower that back down. So just take the feet a little bit wider than the shoulders and turn the feet out. And you're going to bend the knees and get into a horse stance. But with the pelvis, you're trying to move the pubic bone down. And as you move the pubic bone down, or the pubic bone up, the tailbone will move down, and you'll get a wider sensation into the insides of the thighs. Yeah, and it's eventually for, say, a martial arts. But try to keep the weight in the heels of the feet. And if you could have the arms like, no, but I'm going to take my arms out wide and my thumbs are up. And then I'm going to rotate my shoulders back in space. And then I'm going to rotate the arms forward in space. So my thumbs are turning down, possibly back more, depending on how much you can rotate in. And then I'm going to rotate it back. And then forward. And then back again. And then forward. Say one leg is giving out. You're relying on that leg too much. So you want to shift the weight over into the other leg. And then bringing yourself back up into a standing position. So when you stand up, just turn the feet forward and take your feet out into a wide place, just so that it's easy, whatever easy means to you. So it could be more narrow than I am. But as it gets easier and you get stronger, then you can take the feet out wider. And same thing, try to bring the tailbone down and the pubic up. Because it's a little bit easier if you're in an anterior tilt. And not that we want to make it harder, but you don't want to rely on your lower back to keep yourself up. And that's something that people do when they stand and when they sit. If they're very weak in their abdomen, it's either that or rounding, right? Those are the two common traits. So just move the feet in either closer together. You know, again, if this is really challenging for me, I'd use a wall or a chair. And then take the feet out a little bit wider. So and being uncomfortable is definitely part of developing a practice. So not that you always have to be uncomfortable, but if you're really wanting more, like more ability in the body, in terms of strength and flexibility, you know, in your practice, there will be a lot of being uncomfortable initially. And then as you get used to the exercise, it gets easier and easier. And that's the time that I would change something for someone, not do it longer, right? And that's usually what's used. So toe heel the feet in a little bit closer, and then just bring the feet back into a neutral stance. So I'm going to turn just so that you can see me better, but just take a couple deep breaths, stand nice and tall, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my body turn just so that you can see more of how I'm isolating my hips. So I'm going to take my left leg up off the floor and I'm trying to pull it up into the chest. So bring your right or left hand just outside or above the knee and try to find the leg into the hand. Now, don't bring your hand down into your leg. Bring your leg up more into your hand, and you can keep increasing the capacity as you do this. Then take it out a quarter of the way, and then bring it, say, all the way out. And there's no real best angle. I'd find the weakest angle, and that's what I would work on the most. I wouldn't work on what is already polished. So bring the leg back into center, and then pull it up. And then bring it down. So just again, so you can see from the side, I'm going to take my right leg up off the floor. And then I'm bringing my hand just above my knee so that I always have a marker to go to. Like that I can always lift the leg up into. And this could be done a number of ways, but I like this. So I'm going to take it into the, a quarter of the way. And I'm still striving to take the leg up into the hand. And then I'm going to take it out. And then again, I'm when it's difficult, you're going to notice your body compensating. So try to keep your upper body over your hips and just lift through the leg and then bring it back into center and then keep working on lifting the leg up and then the foot down. So that's hip compression, which will help. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch out. I'm going to strengthen the hamstring and then we'll stretch it all out and then we'll get back into like more of a lunge. So have the left foot come up and you don't have to touch the hand, but you could. So I'm bringing it down and then I'm taking it up. Then I'm bringing it down. I'm bringing it up. It's not bad to hold. We'll hold that eventually, but often hamstrings are really, really weak for people. And then bring it down, take it back up again. You'll notice that the knee will kind of descend, it'll go out, right? It'll divert out because of usually lack of flexibility in the quad and around the knee. So bring it down one more time, and then take it up, and then hold the foot if you can. So if someone's really inflexible, the shin's probably a better place to start. You could strap it, with a towel or a yoga strap, but holding the foot, not that it's better, is that it's gonna be more global in terms of developing soft tissue, making it more pliable. So bring the left foot down and then taking the right leg up. So we're just using effort to take the leg up and then bring it down. Again, use a wall or a chair to support yourself and then bring it down, bring it up again, bring it down, take it up again, bring it down, and then take it up, hold, 3 seconds. If you did less reps, it'd be longer in time, like you could hold it for 10 seconds, something like that. But I'm going to keep it up, I'm going to hold either the shin or the foot. And I didn't say this before, but it's good to rely on your hands for passive flexibility. But if you really need stronger hamstrings, a really common injury in yoga is you want to strengthen the hamstrings so that you don't, have discomfort in them. So you can bring the right foot down, and then with the right foot down, just standing. So have your hands on your hips and circle your hips in a small or big way. So this is much easier than, say, motions at the pelvis. The pelvis is moving with hip rotations, but I like these because anybody can really do them. And it's the beginning of extension. It's the beginning of folding, in yoga, which is very prevalent. So I'm going to circle around in the opposite direction. So if you have really, really tight hip flexors, you're going to notice that it's harder to take the hips back in space. And that's partially what's difficult for people in folding forward. It's a number of things, but that's one of the factors. And then just bring it back into the middle. So keep your hands on your hips, have your legs bent just slightly, and then stick your butt out, and then bring it down. So tailbone down, stick it out again, bring it down, stick it out, and then bring it down. So just be more, neutral, but you're just gonna circle the pelvis. And the legs can move if you need to get the pelvis to move, but then eventually it can be just more pelvis in rotation. And these can be a little difficult, do it in front of a mirror if you're really challenged with it, and then circle around the opposite direction. But if you have I've said this before in previous classes, if you have a difficult time walking, often it's, how well do the hips function? If you are weak in your hips, it's very difficult to move the legs. And that's why you might start to be compensating in the way that you walk. So just come back into the middle. Take the feet out a little bit wider than the shoulders, turn the feet out, bend the knees again, and have the arms out wide, and drop down through the tailbone. So get the tailbone to move down, push the thighs apart. And for those of you that are tighter, you don't have a lot of flexibility in the body, it might look like something like this. So make it really easy. Like you could have a conversation with someone. And then as it gets easier, then start to sit a little bit lower. And I say this all the time, people just sit to their maximum capacity, and then they're kind of like wondering why things don't necessarily go further. Could be a number of things, but it's often that there's just not enough relaxation in the pose. Like there should be some elements that you're relaxing, not just forcing yourself into shapes, and that can be done, intelligently as well. So bring yourself back up, bring the arms down, and just turn the feet in and just bring the feet back to a neutral stance. So I'm gonna go to the wall a bit, just in case people need the wall, and you don't have to, but I'm just working more on, I'll start with a lunge, but I'm gonna make it longer. So getting out of alignment is eventually what will help expose the body, and that you'll be able to move more freely. So I'm gonna start at the wall where my hands are at the wall, and I'm gonna step my left foot back, and with my left foot back, use the wall if you need it. Like I said about the horse stance, make it shorter, right? And this is another thing that people do, is they always create the same type of capacity. So either it's not enough or it's too much, right? But as it gets easier, you're gonna make it longer. So it's a longer stance. Not that it has to be my length, right? I have a different anatomy than you, I have a different background as you. It doesn't have to be this length. And then I'm gonna make it shorter just for the transition. And then I'm gonna step the right foot back. And then with the right foot back, like I said, make it easy. And then as it gets easier, then we'll make it more complex or more difficult for you. You do have a history of knee pain. You could be at 90. That's not like the golden rule. Like that's, in my opinion, taken way out of context. I mean, it's good for photos, but it's not necessarily good for the function of the knee. So it's not unhealthy to be obtuse, and it's not unhealthy to be acute, right? It just, can you take it? If you can't take it, then you shouldn't use it, right? But I'm gonna make it longer if I can, using the wall or a chair. And then I'm gonna use the wall or the chair, especially if I'm a person that needs it to come out of it. And then when you come out of it, you're just standing. I'm gonna do a little bit of twisting, because that'll help with getting you to be a little bit more flexible, right? So my feet are neutral, and I'm just bringing my hands to the wall. And it's okay if you're turning your pelvis, but if you can, keep your pelvis neutral and turn the body to the right. And notice which foot you're favoring when you're standing. So nothing super flashy, but it'll help you with getting into a deeper position, right? In terms of twisting, like if your torso is really restricted, it's going to affect you in how much you fold forward, how much you bend back, how much you rotate. It's a quite extensive. So twisting has a lot of carryover. So bring it back into the middle and then turn your body, have your feet neutral. Just bring the tailbone down slightly and then turn. Maybe you don't need the wall, but the wall will help with a greater rotation. Right, so you're twisting, to the left. For you, it might be the right, whatever side you started with. But get taller as you inhale. And if you can handle it, pull the right hip back slightly. So the opposing hip, whichever hip is furthest away from your hands, that's what you're drawing back in space. And then you could turn forward, and then you just basically back into a standing position. So we'll use the wall again, but I'm going to stretch out more of the quad, and I've said this before, most people don't spend enough time on exposing this. Like if I did some various back bends, which I will at some point, there's a lot of range in between, like sitting on two blocks and going all the way back where you're sitting on the floor and you're going all the way back, right? Those are same positions, but very different in terms of range. So take the left leg up again and bring it down, and then bring it up, and then hold it up and hold the shin. Again, as it gets easier, start to get to the foot if you could. And it's not bad to just go to the foot and like, oh, that's so hard, right? But you could, for a moment, you could go to the foot and then go to the shin. And that's kind of, in yoga, it's like, it's either you're in it or you're not, but you could be in it and then come out of it, but then go back into it. Like I often see people stretching in the park and they do like 30 seconds on one side and they really don't even do the other side. They just, they try, but then they give up on it, right? And then bring the left foot down. Take the right leg up, try to lift the foot into the hand, and then bring it down, and then take it up. And then as you bring it up, hold the shin or hold the foot. And someone that's really restricted here, have it on a chair. And then put your block on your chair so that your foot's higher, right? And then you can eventually get to holding the shin or holding the foot. And say you like balancing, of course, you don't need the wall. It's just, you may need it. And then you can bring the right foot down. So we're going to use the wall again, but we're going to get lower, right? We're going to try to get lower in our lunge. So have your hands at the wall, step your left foot back into a lunge, make it longer, and then as you make it longer, you're going to stay on the toes, but you're going to bring your left knee down. And it doesn't have to touch the floor. Say you can't do that, it hurts your knee or whatever. Just let it hover, and then bring it up. So bringing the back leg up. So the tailbone's moving down and the pubic bone's lifting up. And how you position your upper body, I base it off of like what your back feels like. Like you could be pitched forward. You don't have to be upright, right? But I'm going to bring the back knee down for a moment. And some people, they won't get down. And it's okay that they're not down. But over time, you'll be able to get down more. And then take the back leg up. And then one more time, bring it down. And then bringing it back up. So step the left foot forward and then step the right foot back. And make the stance a little longer if you're a person that has some experience with this. Like, again, you wouldn't see it in an ad for yoga, but it's the beginning stages of doing bigger positions or more complex positions. So I'm at the wall with my hands, and then I'm scooping underneath with my tailbone. I'm using my abdomen, and then I'm going to bring the knee down. And you should feel depending on where you're inflexible. So I feel it pretty intensely in my hip flexor, even though I can do the splits. So you could bring the knee down for a moment. And again, it doesn't have to be all the way down. Then take it up and then bring it down again. And this is really for your upper body. It's not just for the lower body. And then take the knee up. And then you can bring it forward or slightly forward. And then you're standing. So just stand for a couple breaths at the wall or whatnot. And what we're going to do is practice like just moving a little bit in your lunges, which, you know, is what you'd see in most like yoga settings or classes, right? So you could be at the top of the mat, take the arms up overhead, fold forward into a forward fold. As you fold forward, step the left foot back into a lunge. And maybe it's easier, maybe it's not. But if you take videos of yourself or photos of yourself, you'll see very well that it is easier. So have your hands on your chair, your blocks, or as you get more flexible with this, have the hands on the inside of the foot. And like we did before, bring the back knee down and then taking the leg back up. I'm bringing it down and then back up. So about 3 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds. So I'm bringing it down. And then I'm bringing it down again. And then I'm going to take it up again. So, like I said, if you're really wanting to go further, it will be uncomfortable. Like it's like you're not going to look peaceful doing it. You're not going to breathe very peacefully in doing it. It's going to be hard, right? But it will get easier. And then you don't really have to, then you can do more complex things if that's an interest. So bring the right foot in a little bit closer, the left foot in a little bit closer, and then step the left foot forward, and then have your feet turned out, hold something or hold your blocks and bend your knees, and you should see that it's easier to squat from everything that we've done up to this point. You don't have to be squatting, the heels could be raised, it might take you a long, long time to really fully squat with your heels down. But your knees and your hips will tell you if you should be getting into like a more fuller position, right? So fold forward and then step the right foot back into a lunge. Have your hands on the inside of the leg if you can. So it'll help get you lower with your upper body. Bring the left foot more forward than the knee if you can. And then what you'll do is you'll bring your knee down for a moment and then you'll take it up. You'll feel all this great stretching in your back. So like if it's like a one-legged happy baby, which I find more progressive than grabbing both of your feet. It's one side is very isolated. So bring the back knee down. You can move around a little bit, right? That's a great thing. If you're really stiff, I recommend moving. Don't just sit. Move around, relax. Take the back knee up off the floor. If you're a really serious person, be more playful. And if you're not a very serious person, right, be a little bit more concentrated, just so that the work is, there's a real concentrated focus, right? It's not just, you're not just, playing around, right? Especially if you want to develop something. So take the back knee up and then bring it down. So take the back knee up and step the right foot forward and be in a soft, soft forward bend, right? I'm just going to round my back and roll myself up to standing. So I'm rolling myself up, and then as I roll up, just kind of be in a standing position. So what will help is, again, I'm going to start with just more of the hip rotations again, move them around, move your pelvis in space. So this is, again, much easier than some movements of the pelvis, but it's a good starting point. And then you can circle around the opposite direction. So the more you move your legs, the more you move your hips, it's really moving everything above the pelvis. So I studied Thai massage in Thailand. So the great thing about Thai massage is they move your legs in all these great angles. And that's what really helps in mobilizing the upper body, right? Have the hands on the hips and just circle the pelvis. So just moving the pelvis in space. and then circle around. Like I said, don't do this in a gym. You don't want to be made fun of or whatever. Do it in the comfort of your home before you go for a walk, after you go for a walk. And you'll just see that it gets easier, and most likely it's going to help in your motor skills with your legs. So just a couple more rotations and then back into the middle. So I'm going to work on moving the legs in space. I've done this before. I'm going to take my left foot up off the floor. And what we did earlier is like very kind of, very straightforward. What I'm going to do is a figure 8 with my left leg. So I'm just moving my leg in space. Now the figure 8 could be a lateral figure 8. It could be more forward and back. Right? The figure 8 could be you doing it with your knee, and that's more for hip flexion, but I'm doing it more for internal and external rotation. So like my leg is moving through space, and like I said, if you've ever had a good masseuse, they'll move your legs quite eclectically, and then that'll help with your hips, it'll help with your spine. So bring the left foot down and then bring the right leg up. Really good for balance, but this could be done on your back. So if you had like something serious in your knee or possibly your hip or your foot, you could do it in a seated position, you could do it on your back. You don't have to do it standing. I'm just doing it because it's a morning practice, just making it more active for you. So I'm just moving the leg around, and the arms, I have my arms on me, but you can move your arms out to the side, which typically makes it easier. The arms are like, if I'm balancing on a rail, I use my arms, right? So bring the right foot down. We're going to come down into a lunge, but a little bit lower. So use your blocks. I'm gonna come forward, top of my mat, taking my arms up overhead, and then I'm going to fold forward into a forward fold, and then just step the left foot back into a lunge, so the left foot is back, and then have the hands on the inside, right? Move the weight around, make it longer, right? Again, those of you that really struggle with this, be higher, use the wall. So maybe you're at the wall for a couple months, something like that. And then over time, you can get to a chair, and then you can get to the floor. Not that this is better. So take the right arm up to the ceiling, so the right arm is high, and bring the right arm forward in space. Look to the hand if you can. Bring the arm up. Drive through the right heel. Use your glutes, use your hamstrings. Bring it back up. Bring it to the left leg, like just kind of reach back, but just relax the shoulder, relax the hand. And then doing like a semicircle all the way forward. Great for a countertop. You can reach for a countertop. Bring the right hand down and then step the left foot forward. And then step the right foot back. And then with the right foot back, your hands are on the inside. Move the weight around. Take the left arm up to the ceiling so the left arm is high. Bringing it forward. Doesn't have to be pinky down, but there is more rotation in the shoulder if the pinky's down higher than the thumb. Then bring it up. Bring it forward in space. Bring it up. Bring it back, possibly for the right leg. Right? Relax the shoulder. And then bring it up. And then you can bring it forward, looking to the hand. And then bringing the left hand down, and then step the right foot forward. So come down onto your hands and your knees. Just got a couple more things, and then I'm going to end the class. I'm making these classes shorter so that they're way more concentrated, and whether it's beginner yoga or advanced yoga, I think that's better, in my opinion, because it'll be a lot more focused and concentrated, and then you can add more, obviously, more time, or you could do. All my classes are on my YouTube channel, so if you're not a subscriber, you could subscribe, and then you'd be notified whenever I'm posting a new video, and I'll make it more like how to make your back bend better, how to handstand, how to headstand, because there's a real sequential way of doing things that'll make it faster, more efficient, and safer. So I'm on my toes, and I'm just going to sit back towards my feet. And then I'm going to move forward, and then I'm going to sit back onto my toes, or my feet are now flat. You don't have to sit back this far, but you'll notice with the lunging, these positions will be easier. And these positions are actually more advanced than those positions in terms of flexibility. This is way more difficult than what we did. In balance, obviously, that's more difficult, right? So come back where you're tucking the toes, sit back, right? Untuck the toes, sit back on the feet. Take a couple deep breaths. Right, and then come back where your legs are going to be forward, your knees are going to be bent, and the hands will just be underneath the shoulders, and just pull the shoulders back. Right, pull them back, and just kind of see if you need more effort. Initially, just a little bit of effort's probably better, and then as you get more developed, you can pull it back more, but it doesn't have to be, again, like something that you're going to injure yourself. So I'm going to push down through the feet. I'm going to lift through the hips. I'm going to keep my hips up and then rocking forward. So I'm retracting my shoulders back as I do. Side to side motions way easier than coming forward and back. And maybe you're not coming up at all. Maybe you're down in a low position and you're just pulling back, right? But I'm going to move forward, keeping the hips up and pulling the shoulders back. I'm going to move it back over the hands. Then just come down. So I've said this before, like a few seconds of a hold is really, really good. It's a great start. And then you could do multiple reps to get to, which in yoga, and I'm not bashing yoga in any way, but it's usually viewed as like a longer hold is better. And that could be true, but initially like short holds can be really, really beneficial. So pull the shoulders back in space, broaden the collarbone, and lift the hips. And as you're lifting the pelvis and I'm pulling the shoulders back, I'm going to come forward again. You just got to be careful with the elbows. So if you're lacking flexibility in the shoulders, it can be quite stressful for the elbows. You got to be careful with your elbows. Keep lifting the hips and then bringing the hips down. And then as you bring your hips down, we're just going to come into just this seated position. So just sit cross-legged, squeeze the legs together, like make your crossing of your legs smaller, and then also push the legs out wider too, right? So if I bring my feet closer together, my knees are wider. And then recross the legs, make it smaller if you can, make it bigger. It's common, people have back pain, people have knee pain. There's literally thousands and thousands of things that you can do. And often it's just you haven't found the right things to use yet. So you could always message me, send me a video. It's very easy to help you. And I'm happy to help you as best that I can. So if you have the time, you could lie down, you could rest. I've said this before in classes, like morning practices, it's great to rest, but it kind of makes you a bit spacey. So if you need to be alert, say you got plans today, you're going to go whatever and do whatever you do, I think it's better to sit for a little bit as we're doing. But say you're really overworked, overly stressed, and relaxing helps you, definitely take a rest. If you're really tired from the week, take a nap, right? Take care of yourself is really the best advice I can give you. Like drink water, eat natural foods, be around positive people. All these things factor into how you can develop a healthier lifestyle, a healthier way. So I hope these classes are benefiting you. You can let me know how they're going, what you'd like me to teach. If there's specific things that you'd like me to teach, I'm happy to accommodate those requests. So if you did not know, all of my information is on my website. It's jonwittyoga.com. You can see my weekly schedule. You can see how you can contribute to my cause and how I can offer free yoga to people that are needed. So if you'd like to make a donation, I greatly appreciate it. People that I haven't even taught in the future, it'll benefit them. So have a beautiful weekend. If I don't see you tomorrow, I have a class. It's 10 a.m. Eastern time, and it's on Zoom. So you go to my website to register. Have a beautiful weekend. I hope to see you soon. Namaste.